Hi, I'm Mao from the Money Study, bringing you another episode in the Ultimate PSS Education Series, and we're up to number 23, and this is all about retirement options. Pulling your money out is definitely more fun than putting it in. Before we kick off with those options, there's our disclaimer. This is all about facts and figures. It's information. It is not advice. But before you go through the options, your options in retirement are limited by what is your preservation age. Now, as you can see, it used to be a sliding scale from 55 up to 60, depending on when you were born. But as you can see on those dates, as of June 30 this year, everybody's going to be, born from that time onwards, are going to be 60. So preservation age will basically be 60 going forward. But in the past, you may have already been able to access. But now, from now on, effectively from June of this year, everybody's preservation age going forward will indeed be 60. So, what are our options on retirement? Now, if you retire, then yes, you could indeed leave your money in the scheme. So you could be 62, you've resigned from the PSS, you resigned from your job, and you could still just leave your money in the PSS because you're not too sure whether you're going to go back or not. And you might think, okay, look, I'll just leave it there for a couple more years just to make sure I am going to retire. It could be a case that you're going to be making money elsewhere and you don't want the ramifications of having dual income. There are ways around that, of course. But yes, if you do indeed resign or retire, and you're still under 65, then you can preserve it. You cannot preserve your benefit if you are over 65. Number 2 there, you could transfer your PSS to another eligible fund. And I'm not too sure why I'd be doing this really. There's only about, I think, 8 of them left in the country. And, your PSS is very, very good. Would you really want to move it? You'd have to certainly go and do your homework to compare it to any of the other funds that you would need to move it into. And these are things like, from memory, politicians and Northern Territory state government. They're oddball type ones, so not really a common option. Number 3 is, yes, you could take a lump of money if you want. You could decide to split your benefit. You decide to take a lump of money, but you're going to leave the rest in the PSS for the time being. Now, the problem with that is that if you take a lump of money, you leave the rest inside your PSS, and you don't come back to work for the Commonwealth Government, then when you come back to get the rest of your money, you have lost the pension option. And that's why I've written that in nice red colour there, because if you do indeed take a lump of money, leave the rest in PSS, trying to work out what you're going to do, then effectively you're going to have to take the rest of it as a lump of money. So there'll be no pension option. You can't come back and leave it there and say, okay, now I'll take a pension. No, you cannot. Okay. You can take a full lump of money and with no pension, but you've got to be over your preservation age to do that. So you can take a full lump of money with absolutely no pension whatsoever, but you would have to been over your preservation age, we'll say coming up 60, effectively, to get that lump of money. You can indeed take a full pension with no lump of money. Now, there's no lump of money involved. We don't have to worry about this thing called our SIS upper limit or anything like that. We could literally take our full pension. And even though at 55, you'd be underneath your preservation age, for the bulk of you, you can indeed start a full pension. So these restrictions literally only apply to the lumps of money and so forth. If you're taking a pension, every single one of you in the PSS can indeed retire at 55, so long as you're taking a full pension. If you want lumps of money, you've got to wait for preservation age and so forth. But full pension, yep, you could go at 55, 56, 57, 58 and a quarter, whatever you like. You're underneath your preservation age, no problem at all. You can take a full pension. And could you go back to work later on? Not a problem at all. And it would have no impact whatsoever on your PSS pension. Bit of tax issues, which we'll talk about in upcoming sessions. If you decide to split So you've decided that you're going to take a lump of money, and you might be using that lump of money to pay down debt, go on holiday, buy a new car, and you then convert the rest of it to a pension. That's no problem. You could do that at 55, even if your preservation age was 60, but you could only take the pension component of it. You couldn't take the lump of money. So the lump of money couldn't even stay in the PSS because you've taken a pension. Hence, the lump of money would have to be rolled over into another super fund, and it would be caught up with the normal preservation rules, and you wouldn't be able to get that money out until you've retired over the age of 60. But you certainly could do a split. Now, if you're going to do a split at any age, then it basically means that it is restricted to a minimum pension of 50%. Basically, you're giving up half of the lump of money to create the pension, but you can't basically take less and convert it to a pension. So it's a minimum amount that you can basically take for a pension. So you can have a very large pension. You could have 80% of your money converted to pensions and just have 20% of it a lump of money, but you can't do it the other way around. You can't have 80% of it as a lump of money and only have 20% pension. Minimum amount for the pension is utilising 50% of the lump of money for a pension. But after that, you could basically have a pension of 92% and have 8% of it as a lump of money. So a lot of control, except for the fact that it's got to be over that 50% amount. Now, obviously, there's tax issues and all sorts of other things which we're going to go through step by step by step with these, everything to do with our retirement. Now, if you are retiring over 65, this opens up a little bit more interest, a few more things that you may be able to consider in the regard that, yes, you could keep on working. You don't have to retire at 65. You could keep on working. I do believe there's a lovely gentleman still in one of the government departments there at 75, still in the PSS, working away. Look, that's fine. You can just keep on working. You may have started quite late. You might have been quite old when you started with the PSS, and so it goes on. You're just still trying to build your benefit. And yes, if you continue to work, your ABM would grow, your FAS would hopefully grow with pay rises and so forth, and would just keep on growing and keep on growing and keep on growing. Alternatively, you could indeed stay in your job. So let's imagine you've just turned 65, but you're thinking, what can I do here? Well, you could indeed resign from the PSS. Resign from the PSS. Now, if you resign from the PSS but stay in your job, well, you can't preserve your PSS past 65. We've already worked that out. So therefore, we'd actually have to take our benefit. And therefore, we could actually take it as lumps, and we could take it as pensions and all this sort of business. But we could take a full pension at 65, have that money come in while we are still working. We wouldn't have to quit our job to get the money. This is only at the age of 65. So yes, at 65, you could resign from the PSS. Now, of course, if you resign from the PSS, your employer, in theory, still has to pay you superannuation. If you're no longer in the PSS, they will basically open up a PSS AP account, the accumulation plan, and therefore they will start paying their 15.4% employer contribution into that scheme. So not only would you be collecting your salary, you'd also be collecting a PSS pension, and you'd be collecting 15.4% of your superannuation salary going into the PSS AP super fund as well. And the crazy part about it, any money that goes into the PSS AP, because it's a normal accumulation plan and you're over 65, there is no preservation. So you could indeed even be taking the money out of the PSS AP as fast as they put it in, if that's what you wanted to do. There is a limited minimum amount that you've got to keep in the fund to keep that open. But yeah, it certainly opens up a range of strategies here in the regard that you may be a person who's 65 and for whatever reason you've still got a bit of a house mortgage and you really wanted to get rid of that mortgage before you retired. So what could you do? You could literally get to 65, resign from the PSS, you stay on your job, live on your normal income that you've always done, but take the PSS after all the tax issues and throw that at the mortgage. And you could be throwing an extra 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever, $1,000 a year at that mortgage to completely wipe it out. Now, of course, we need to do some numbers here. Does that make sense compared to literally just staying in the fund and building it up, or taking a lump of money to eradicate debt, and so it goes on. So a lot of issues in all of this. But boy, oh boy, there's got to be some advantage in being over 65. I'm over 65. And this is certainly one of them. But unfortunately, I'm not in the PSS. But anyway, some food for thought there. We're going to keep on going in the next few episodes, talking about how to calculate that pension. And of course, all we're going to make your eyes bleed with all the information regarding taxation on pensions coming up. Look forward to you to joining me on those.